We've all seen people complaining on social media before, and I'm not talking about the trolls. I'm talking about real people with real complaints to real businesses. Joining me in studio is Natalie Govender. She's the social media manager at Jupiter Drawing Room, and she's going to shine some light on if it really does pay to complain on Twitter. Hello. Nice to see you.
Nice.
So you're a social media manager. You are the expert then on whether it pays to complain on Twitter, and does it?
It does. A few years ago, you had to make about 5 phone calls, send a couple of emails, write a letter to the newspaper. But now it seems 140 characters are actually doing the trick. Of course, there's a right way to do it, and most people don't know how to do it correctly. Yeah. So make sure you find the right Twitter handle. Don't use vulgar language because no one's going to take you seriously. But what we found was that the BBC currently ran an experiment where they approached 5 different brands and they send them emails and tweets. All 5 of them responded to the tweets within a very short span of time. Only one company responded to the email, and it took them 24 hours to do that. Wow. It pays to complain on Twitter because it's in a public forum, and brands have more to risk than your letter or your phone call going unanswered. In
your experience working, you've worked with a vast array of different brands. Do they understand this?
Some brands do. Social media is still pretty much like the wild, wild west, so there's mistakes being made. But that's the human side of it. You're going to make mistakes. The thing is to acknowledge that and move on.
Okay, how can a negative tweet or complaint affect a brand?
We've seen what happened with FNB recently. They sent out a tweet about Afghanistan in very poor taste. That tweet was retweeted about 100 times. It affected the brand's overall image very fast. So yeah, it can escalate quickly, and it can do damage to your brand's reputation.
I want to talk about that FNB incident. The tweet, I have it here. Let me just find it. Okay, so somebody tweeted them and asked them where Steve was. Now, Steve is the character in their advertising. And they responded and said, he's somewhere in Afghanistan putting a bomb under a wheelchair and telling the cripple to run for it.
I actually retweeted that tweet, and that's how it got. And I felt very bad. Yeah, it was in very poor taste. Obviously, they used...
Their account wasn't hacked.
The account wasn't hacked. The problem was they obviously didn't have a strategy in place, and they didn't train their staff according to the overall brand identity and brand objectives, and that's why it went horribly wrong.
I guess you just never think that someone is going to write that, especially when they're representing a business. But you really do need to tell everyone.
Yes, everybody needs to be aware of your social media policies. You need to have a strategy in place. You just can't go out there and start, tweeting anything. Listen to the conversations that's going on. Compile research first before you go out and, tweet something in response. That was in very poor taste.